Okay, here we go. We're going to talk about introducing your SDLC with secure DevOps or DevSecOps or SecDevOps or whatever term you and your management want to talk about today using open source software. So what can I get done developing software, scanning it securely, putting it into containers with open source software that's not going to break my bank? And then I can show my management, hey, we might be able to do this stuff. Here's a start. I need some paid tools to do it better, and here's why. So I'm doing this on a couple different projects. I'm doing this at my house. So we wanted to run through this. I am not scripting it. I'm just kind of going off the cuff. I'm probably going to make mistakes. It is what it is. Don't really care. So what do I have going? I have GitHub. I have a simple project here. Nice and simple. That is a .NET Core application and MS SQL Express in Linux. So it basically brings up a database that has people in it and has an API to do some stuff. That's all it does. That's really API calls here, putting data in there. Here's the structure. It's nothing spectacular, nothing major. It's two different projects, two different Docker files, I guess you would say. A database one and a web front end one. The web front end one will be exposed through OpenShift. The database is behind the scenes. We're going to spin this up. We're going to show it going into pods. We're going to do all that kind of stuff. Along the way, we're going to basically pretend we're doing a webhook. I'm not doing a webhook on this, but pretend we're going to do a webhook. We're going to show with a pipeline. We're going to show with a pipeline here. I got one project in here that I'm working with. It's this one, but they're all similar. We're going to show with a pipeline. Okay, we're going to pull this out. We're going to compile our source. We're going to kill any images that are running locally. Most of them shouldn't be. Build a database. Build the app. We're going to use Aqua MicroScanner. That's the freeware version of Aqua's scanner for container scanning. They're all going into Docker containers. I'm not using Builda or any of the other ones. I'm not using Cryo to run this. This is just Docker right now. So scan both of them and report on it. I'm also going to push to OpenShift. So I'm using OpenShift 3.9. Yeah, I'm using OpenShift 3.9. I have it running locally with OC cluster up. So just ephemeral, that's a fancy word for we don't save your data. That's all that means. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then my current registry is right here. So I'm going to push to the registry all through this. That's what I'm going to end up doing. So how am I going to do that? Well, my project is here. All right. Here's my Jenkins file, nice and simple. So a couple things I did up in here, I'm still messing with it some. A couple things I did up in here will be put the container name, container tag, database name, database tags. This is just the name of the container and then what the tag is. I'm not doing anything crazy here. What's my project name in OpenShift? And what's the IP? All right, so OpenShift. I'm logging in as developer. A couple projects that I have here. If you're not familiar with this, get familiar with it. It makes Kubernetes a little easier to digest before you jump into hardcore Kubernetes. There's my people API. That's all. It's nothing major. So I basically have a people API database and then a people API pipeline. I have 3 pods running. If you don't know what a pod is and all the other stuff, please read up on OpenShift. This is an OpenShift primer. Read up on OpenShift, read up on Kubernetes 110, that's behind it. So I have this. So what do I want to do? I want to make a change in here. I want to make a change. I want to push this up. I want Jenkins to pull it down, trigger it, scan it, do all that stuff, put it in containers, scan the containers, make sure there's nothing super bad in it, and then push that out to OpenShift and watch it all flow. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over a little bit. I have this set to auto deploy on streams. Again, if you don't know what the heck I just said, please read up on OpenShift. Thank you. So as I go here and I push this out automatically, if it works, fingers crossed, this will actually spin up a brand new one and point everything over and turn the old one down. And this will one by one, zoop, 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 3, 2, 1, and then 3, 2, 1, spin these down. I'm using image streams, which basically means if I push a brand new image with the correct tag and image name, the project is listening out for that and it picks it up and pulls it in. It's almost like a webhook for for new code calling Jenkins, almost. Not the same, it's a similar concept. All right, so what am I going to do here? I am going to figure out where I am. First things first. Let's see. People. I hate being Windows or Linux. Which one do you want, man? I do that all the time. So I'm going to use VS Code because it's nice and simple. So what I did earlier, I'm not using this correctly. Don't bash me for that. I'm not putting a path in here. I'm just putting it in here just because I was messing with it. I would go back in here, clean this up, use some of the plugins, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. Let's see if this works. I commented this out earlier. So there is a way, actually. Let's see if I can find it. There is a way to use SonarQube to scan your .NET Core applications if and only if you're actually using the correct version. So I used to have a link for that. Let me see if I have that. Oh, here it is. Boom. Here we go. So there's a Sonar scanner for MS Build for the .NET Core 2.1.3. So 2.1.300 or more. I think I have 2.1.302 or something. There's actually a way to do that. .NET tool install global .NET Sonar scanner with that version. There's a way for you to actually get Sonar scanner so you can call it from your .NET command line, but you have to have the most recent SDK 2.1.300 or greater. So that's what I'm doing here. So let's see if this actually works. I'm actually not sure if that works. We'll find out. Log in. That'll be interesting to see. All right, so made a change. I'm a command line guy, so git add. SonarQube scan. I like using the Jenkins file. I'm not doing a multi-stage build and all that. I'm not getting super fancy. I like using the Jenkins file because it will actually remember what changes I made. I'm not using the GUI, I'm using a file. It's not necessarily infrastructure as code, but it's almost like your CI/CD as code. I'm kind of bastardizing that a little bit. See what we got here. All right, so let's get this to run. Let's actually run this and see what it gives you. It should restore it. It should scan it, build it in the scanning, so then it goes up into here. Where's my people one? Here. And it should say failed, actually, on purpose. So we should go through that and do that. Make the containers, blah, 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 scan it, this microscanner, and then push to the registry. So what in the world is Aqua MicroScanner? What the hell is that? All right, so if I go into Jenkins, there's a couple of things I got to do in Jenkins, but if I go into Jenkins, manage the plugins, yeah. So, okay. Oh, install, sorry. AQUA, there it is. Aqua MicroScanner. This thing right here. A lot of great info. It's awesome. But it's basically here. So if you go to github.com, Aqua Security Microscanner, this basically tells you right here how to run your microscanner. What I ended up doing, so this is if you want to run it yourself. All right, I'm actually using this Aqua MicroScanner plugin, Jenkins CI. So it tells you what to do. Here's your microscanner plugin. Here's what to do. You add that. You add your token. I've already done the token. There's information here on how to generate your token. You can do it that way. You can go online. Get your token, configure it in Jenkins. Here's one thing. The HTML reports that come up, You have to set this. Otherwise, it makes it really weird, the CSS and all that kind of stuff. You have to set this. So go in and do this. Unless there's something, so go in and do this, see if there's anything there. I didn't have anything. I cleared it anyways. Do this, minus the little asterisks. Do that. Or do one of these and then use the plugin that way. So that's what I'm actually doing. So I did it in my Jenkins file. So that's the Aqua security plugin. So that is here. So Aqua MicroScanner, my image name. If it doesn't comply, exit, meaning if it has a very high vulnerability, please don't use it and kill this whole pipeline. And if it's not allowed, fail. It does it for this, and it does it for my database image and my application image. If these actually succeed, then it will basically tag, log in, and push out to my OpenShift registry. Since I'm running locally, you may or may not have your registry exposed. If you don't, there are ways to do that. Mine is with OC cluster up. So I push out to those. One thing I need for that, before I actually go in here and click boop, build now, what do I need to do? I need to get my credentials correct. If you look here to log into OpenShift, it calls this get username and password, blah, blah, blah. OpenShift Docker registry account. Get the username, get the password. OpenShift Docker registry account. OpenShift Docker registry account. I have credentials in here. Developer is my username because that's who owns the project. All right, so what the heck is my password? Log into OpenShift. If you're using OC cluster up, developer has no password. Don't get me started on that. My buddy Dave would the vein will pop out in his forehead. You go in there, you log in, copy login command. Right? What that's going to do, it's going to give you some OC login, HTTPS, blah, 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 dash token equals. Whatever's after that, that's you paste that into Notepad, paste it into Visual Studio Code, paste it into whatever. The actual token that's after the dash token equals. Copy that. That is what gets pasted in here. Now realize every time you log out and log in, a new one is generated. So if it fails on login, you got to come in here and redo that. If I was smart, I would do a service account, do it that way. I'm not smart, obviously, and I'm just running OC cluster up locally just to get this process right. So I'm not going to worry about that, but that's what I would do. It's almost like a service account on a Unix box or Windows box. Look that up with the OC command, creating a service account, giving it access. All right, so my credentials are good. Here's my pipeline. My last couple builds have been good. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say build now, and I'm going to cross my fingers because I haven't done this in a day or two. What should happen is this right here. It should say, okay, I'm checking it out. Great. I'm compiling this source, doing the .NET Core code stuff. That's what it's doing here. It actually did the SonarQube thing. We'll see if that actually works. Sonar, it might have. All right, so load the repository. Okay, so it looks like it worked. Huh, good for you. Inside SonarQube, you need a token. So really, this login right here shouldn't be hard coded. That should be another credential thing. That's something to update. This just to get you started. So what am I doing? I'm going ahead and I pulled down my source in GitHub. I'm using Jenkins, which is free. I'm using .NET Core, which is free. I'm getting all that stuff free. I'm going through all that. I get my I go ahead and pull it down. I'm doing a compile. I'm doing a SonarQube scan. You probably don't want to do that every single build. You may want to. There may be a reason for it. We're doing ours on my other project every pull request. But maybe you want it every build. Maybe you're that terrified or your code quality is that bad to where you want to mandate that. Fine, whatever works. That's free. SonarQube, you can look that up. SonarQube. There's all kinds of information on that. So SonarQube. I'm pulling that down. I'm scanning it. I have Docker installed. That's free. OC cluster up. I have the OC OpenShift command line interface pulled down. That's free. I installed Aqua Security MicroScanner plugin for Jenkins. That's free. I can do all this stuff. Literally, I can do all this stuff at my house, and I have done everything except Aqua until recently. You can make all your stuff at your house, go through all these steps, even for side projects, even for smaller projects for work. You can do all this without too much cost. You need some boxes. You can do all this kind of stuff to actually get a better process going through. If I had all these hosted somewhere and they were all like good names, I would do a webhook from my GitLab, my local Git, my Bitbucket, whatever, or maybe a corporate. This is a public one, maybe a corporate GitHub account or whatever. I could go ahead and get my webhook to bump back, and then every time I did a specific check-in, not every check-in, but every time I did a specific check-in, I could go through and do this. So what's it doing now? I built the image. I'll show you this in a minute. It's doing the Aqua archive. What this is doing now is it's saying Docker push, and you see some stuff happening over here. It's doing a Docker push to here. So it's actually pushing out the different image registries. And based on the image stream, based on the project name / image name, it actually refreshed automatically, dynamically. That's what that happened here. So if I wanted more pods, I could actually click up if I wanted to. I could scale them down. I could go and do all that. I could see what this one's doing. This doesn't have an external route. It's all internal, 1433. This one can talk to this one. This is exposed out on here. I just made a default name or whatever. So 8080 on the back end. I think it's 80 on the front end. Yeah, HTTP. It's 80 on the front end. You can make this all you want to. All this kind of stuff right here, all it's fairly easy to do. I'm not going to go into that. But you saw that go ahead and triggering Jenkins ran through and did all of that work. And then, boop, good to go. That's the end of my pipeline. All right, so what did that give me? It gave me my build. And it gave me some artifacts right here. Well, what the heck are these two things? Well, I could go and look. I could look at my database build. And I can look at this. I can replay. I can look at my steps. What is this? This people API. What is this? That's MicroScanner. That gives you the scan report. This is really nice. It's something that security people are going to want if you're going to containers, because they're going to want to look inside of your containers, quite frankly. Image is allowed. So based on this, I didn't tweak anything. So based on this stuff, this image right here, this .NET image, .NET Core image, which is basically bloop, here, where I install CA certificates. That's a thing with the Aqua MicroScanner. You'll have to look up. So I installed it in my image. .NET restore, build, release, out. Take that information, throw it into this one from the Microsoft.NET 2.1 runtime, blah, blah, blah. So based on that, I have 0 high, 0 medium, 1 low, and 9 negligible things that I found. What does that mean? Vulnerabilities. Boom. Huh, look at that, a nice little chart. Again, I'm using the free one of this. If you did the paid one, it could go to a portal that would have all this stuff. You would not only do it here, you would do it on running containers. So, it's all good well to do a container and scan it. But if you haven't updated it in a while and then there's a new CVE that comes out, you're going to want to do it against running containers in your platform. The free tool doesn't do that. This is just a start. You can go through and find out, okay, what is this one actually doing? Kind of goes through and lists, what's vulnerable, what's the bug. So you can go through and you can look at all of them, honestly. Realistically, your security person's probably going to want to look at it. Here's the root security hole. That's not good, huh? Reported on full disclosure. So you can look at the bugs that are actually in your container. Just because it's in a container does not mean it doesn't have bugs, it doesn't have problems. These are all, according to them, they're negligible, low, whatever. Realistically, this is nice, but someone on your team is going to want to verify it. So what did I just ran through? I just ran through, okay, I'm gonna assume you understand Docker. You have Docker CE or something running locally. I'm going to assume you have OpenShift running because I'm running mine with Docker, funny enough. I have Jenkins, Jenkins, Jenkins.io, I believe is the website. I have SonarQube, SonarQube.io or something like that. Is that right? That'll work, sorry. SonarQube.org, got that working, boom. Got all those things to talk to a pipeline, and I'm using GitHub. So based on all that, you actually could have a change, make it run all the way through, do security check on your code, which I didn't show you, which is here. Do a security check on your code, as well as do a security check not only on the code that's in your container, do a security check on all the layers of your container. If you don't know where your container came from, you better be doing this. If you're building it from scratch, then maybe you've already done this on your base layers and you know where they're coming from, and you can just have your team go from your known good base layer and build on top of it. That's fine too. The way that we're doing it, and the way that a lot of people suggest a good way would be to automate your Jenkins, your Jenkins pulls, your webhooks or whatever. Automate that on your develop, on your release, and on your master branches. Those three main ones. Develop is your latest development. That goes into dev. You could tag it with latest. You could tag your container with dev. Doesn't matter. Test. You could actually tag your release or your QA or release candidate or whatever you want to call it. That's another good one. That would have a webhook that points back to a different Jenkins file possibly, or a multi-phase one that says, hey, I'm at my test phase. And it pulls down and runs the appropriate pieces, pushes to the appropriate, maybe not this people API, maybe there's a people.test people API pipeline. So it pushes to the right test instance on your OpenShift cluster, or maybe it points to a totally different cluster because you have so much money that you guys have separate instances for every stage of development. And then your master one. Your master one points to your main Jenkins file. Docker files can live everywhere. They can run the same. Maybe the code that you put in there isn't your debug version. Maybe it's your release version. Maybe there's certain pieces and certain tweaks you lock down on that. Maybe there's other things that you do. I did not go through here and change any environment variables. I didn't go through any of that. I didn't change any of that stuff. I didn't change my services. I didn't change my, any of the secrets. I didn't change anything. I just took the same exact code with the update. I only updated my Jenkins file. Same exact code, put it in here, and had it automate all the way through. I'm running this on my little workstation, my little Windows 10 workstation. Unfortunately, I have Windows 10. So I'm running that on here. And none of this software costs me anything, which is great. And it gets me into a process of secure, a secure DevOps kind of mentality of automating that. I'm actually, my D in my CI/CD stands for not only delivery, but I'm actually deploying. We could take this, you can modify this, maybe there's a different configuration using the Istio where you do a canary or a dog launch, feature launch, something of those. This is just to get you started. So hopefully this at least clues you in how you could do all this stuff. It's not too hard. It's not too hard, not too easy, not too hard. There are several other Jenkins credentials that pipelines you're going to do. You're probably going to add credentials like for the SonarQube thing. You can come into configure system. You can actually link in SonarQube from here if you want and call it through a variable. There's SonarQube servers right here. You have OpenShift client play. There's several tools that I just haven't messed with. Where is the Aqua MicroScanner? Boom. So the token that I received from them goes here. Fail scans if CA cert is missing. Boom. That's what I did. Read up on that if you don't understand what that means. So that's about it. Hopefully you found something good that you and your team could use. Thank you.